Building bridges between school and after school is not a new process. There are already lots of great resources out there, including recently the publication from the National Association of Elementary School Principals on connecting the dots to after school, and Ken Anthony and Joseph Moore's 2016 paper, among them. ESSA, because it's new, necessitates changes in the way things have been done for at least the last 15 years or so of No Child Left Behind, and these changes simply create a new window for conversation. Framing our work in the context and language of the new law might provide new opportunities for building on our connections, including for program sustainability and expanding access in the field. After school can directly help schools meet their goals of youth success. ESSA really invites new and ongoing opportunities around many areas, including local decision-making and flexibility of district planning and spending, stakeholder engagement, indicators of student and school success, designing and undergoing a needs assessment process, identifying and selecting types of interventions for student support, and reporting information to parents and stakeholders. As the largest federal investment in K-12 funding, the law's titles provide opportunities to leverage these funds with after-school programs for student success. Title I's funding, as you can see on this table, is about $15 billion. This funding can be used to pay for after-school, before-school, and summer programs, or for parts of programs, such as teachers to academically support students after school, for transportation, or a staggered support staff, such as a school psychologist or career counselor working a schedule from 10 to 4 instead of 8 to 2, among other options. In ESSA, this funding has become even more flexible than in the past. Title II can be used for things like joint professional development, inviting after-school staff to school day trainings around things like behavior management or trauma-informed care or multi-tiered systems of support, or it can be used to pay school day teachers to receive training from after-school time programs in things like hands-on learning, project-based learning, or culturally relevant curriculum. Title III can be recommended to be used, as it is in Hawaii, for after-school programs, which can help provide English language learners with socialization and conversational language practice, as well as technical skills and extra time after school. Title IV-A is the new block grant, and it can now be either competitive or formula-based funding. In the formula-funded states, the minimum per district is $10,000. In competitive allocations, the flexibility is even greater. Nebraska chose a competitive method, and one district has received $400,000, so the opportunity can be quite large. This funding can be used for joint in-school and out-of-school STEM professional developments, and can also be used to fund community school coordinators or liaisons that can help connect students with many of the wraparound supports like after school they need after the traditional school day ends. 21st Century Community Learning Center and full-service community schools are still available funding streams, and 21st Century Community Learning Centers are now more connected than ever with school day efforts. Every state submitted a consolidated state plan to the Department of Education, where they are now being implemented at the state level. 17 states are still working through some details to finalize their plans with department approval, and those states are on the bottom, but currently all states are in the process of implementing plans. State plans are really a great thing for everyone to become familiar with and to scan. Although they may be about 80 to a couple hundred pages long, becoming familiar at least with the state's overall student goals and indicators of success is a great way to begin a conversation. If you have more time, understanding the state school improvement process, how the state plans to involve stakeholders, its report card efforts, how it will spend any Title IV-A money, and other areas may provide opportunities for conversations as well. So now we just want to take a quick poll of the people on the call, and Dan's going to help us set up some yes-no questions. And we are curious to learn how many of you have been involved in drafting the state plan in any capacity. So if you could answer yes or no if you have been involved. How many of you have read some or all of your state plan? How many are currently working on ESSA engagement strategies? And how many have built close relationships with superintendents at the state or local level? Okay, great. Well, thanks to those for answering. This is really going to be a process, this entire ESSA implementation, where we all learn from one another and continue to share our opportunities, our successes, and our challenges. So I really am excited to see people at all stages in this process. Thanks, Dan. Okay. As state plans are now complete, the work of advocates like you really was certainly made apparent. At least 20 state plans included mention of their statewide after-school network. And state plans mentioned after-school and community partners in many other sections as well, including health and wellness, transitions, family engagement, and more. On our ESSA page, we do have a link to an Excel spreadsheet of where after-school is mentioned in each of the state plans, so feel free to take a look. Also note that while a mention in a state plan is a great opportunity to leverage at this local engagement phase, not being mentioned might make local engagement even more of an opportunity, as schools and districts may have then less state-level guidance and be looking for local partners with tried and tested solutions and supports to help them navigate their decision-making process towards building on student success. Just a quick slide here on stakeholder engagement. The Council of Chief State School Officers, CCSSO, published a document on engagement in ESSA and details all the places in the law where stakeholder engagement is mentioned. I show this only to reiterate that when you and your local advocates ask to join these conversations, you'll actually be helping schools and districts meet the mandates of the law. So finding them and saving them the time of finding you can be in everyone's best interest. Some states, for example New York and Maryland, have actually written specific stakeholder engagement strategies into parts of their state plan. For example, in those states, all schools that are identified in their school improvement process will be required to establish networks of community partners, including fields like health and after school. On this slide here, I just want to point out that there are really many places for stakeholder engagement. Among them are the needs assessment process and report card and school improvement process. Here are examples on this slide of Georgia, which has out-of-school time section on its needs assessment, and Louisiana, which has made after-school opportunities an integral part of its report card. If you have examples like this from the field, please share. We'll be continuing to collect these and build on this conversation and these examples as this work continues. Here I wanted to quickly review the main backbone behind Title I and the school accountability and improvement process in the law and in the state plans. The goal of the process is to help all students succeed by defining a vision of the state's well-rounded student success through a series of measurable indicators. Then, evaluating performance on those indicators, both at the whole school level, which will identify schools in need of comprehensive improvement for underperforming schools, and by student subgroup levels, which will determine which schools are in need of targeted support. You can see how the subgroups will be broken out in the bottom left. After that process, schools identified for support will undertake a needs assessment in order to see where a school is strong and where it has its challenges. The final step in the process will be identifying evidence-based interventions and supports based on the needs assessment to improve on those indicators and move the school and the students out of an improvement phase and back on track. Each of these categories provides a large opportunity for conversations with states and schools. When they look at the indicators, for example, of success for a student or a school, states and schools can also look at student involvement in out-of-school time activities. Some states like North Dakota include co-curricular involvement in their indicators in the section on student career and military readiness. And some states are mentioning it in their state plans and saying that while they are not including them now, they certainly are considering it further. When looking at identification, it's good to think about programs that specifically serve some of these subgroups. So programs specifically serving specific genders or demographic groups might be able to speak to this work as they communicate. In the needs assessment process, many states are creating comprehensive versions of needs assessments right now. If you can, work to ensure, just like Georgia and North Carolina do, that these needs assessments include questions around student access to and participation in out-of-school time activities. If it's not included at the state level, advocates can still work to get these questions included locally. And in evidence-based interventions, after-school programs have a strong evidence base on moving indicators that the states are tracking. We'll look at these indicators more quickly on the next slide. If possible, we can all work to ensure, similar to Tennessee's plan, that a list at the state level has evidence-based interventions which include after school. But once again, if it's not on the state list, we can always make sure that superintendents and principals know this locally and are aware that it's an evidence-based choice. So a slide on indicators. Indicators are, as you know, are really the starting point of this conversation. They're what schools must really pay attention to in student achievement. All schools must track 4 mandatory indicators: academics, as in proficiency in math and English, same as under No Child Left Behind, another academic indicator, which is usually student growth or closing academic gaps, and also English language learner progress, which is marked as an accountability indicator for the first time, as well as graduation rates. Then, states must choose one or more additional indicators of school quality or student success. At ESSA.afterschoolalliance.org, we have a map which links to your state plan and includes the state-selected student success indicators to get you started or continuing your work in this process. About 30 states have chosen chronic absenteeism, tracking individual students who miss 10% of the school year or more, and college and career readiness, so looking at college credits, AP and IB scores, career certificates and credentials onto their next step within their systems. And finally, on the ESSA.afterschool.org site, we have other tools that we thought might be helpful to either use or modify. We have a letter that can be sent out to superintendents discussing your program and the way it connects with the ESSA plan. We have ways to engage in a conversation with local principals, asking questions about what the school is interested in terms of their goals, and connecting with after-school offerings and availabilities. We also have fact sheets that speak to the evidence base for particular indicators. The following speakers will show more resources as well. The more we continue to share, the less repeated work we'll have to do and the more opportunities we'll have to make our strong case for well-rounded student supports, which include after school. As always, keep communicating with us and let us know if there's anything you may need.